All right, guys, let's put this to bed once and for all. No need for controversy, certainly no need for PC. Let's look at the truth. Item from Reuters. We'll start here. Transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard's gold medal winning performance at the Pacific Games continues to reverberate long after the event, with a New Zealand women's group demanding sports authorities put a stop to unfair competition, unquote. Laurel Hubbard was born a man, decided to hack off his what's-us, inject himself with hormones, I suppose. And now he's a championship women's weightlifter. Well, obviously that's crap. You can't change your gender. You're born with it. It's a DNA thing. And women athletes have discovered this awful truth. Awful because it runs in the face of PC. So what about the face of PC? What about the facts? What do the experts say? Well, here you go. Johns Hopkins head of psychiatry says transgender is a mental disorder. Dr. Paul R. McHugh, former psychiatrist in chief, now distinguished service professor of psychiatry at Johns Hopkins Hospital, says transgenderism is a mental disorder that merits treatment. Sex change is biologically impossible, he says, and that people doing sexual reassignment surgery are collaborating with and promoting a mental disorder, unquote. He explains why Johns Hopkins Hospital has stopped doing sex reassignment surgery. And he says the actions of, quote, misguided doctors who administer, quote, puberty-delaying hormones to render later sex change surgeries onerous comes close to child abuse, unquote. So listen to this, my friends. Dr. McHugh is both distinguished in the medical field and highly respected among his peers. He's written 6 books and at least 125 peer-reviewed medical articles. He's also deeply concerned about the trends in so-called gender identity. The June 9, 2014 issue of Time magazine featured transgenderism on its cover and predicted, quote, nearly a year after the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, another social movement is poised to challenge deeply held cultural beliefs. Dr. McHugh responded not from the point of view of deeply held cultural beliefs, but from well-established medical science. His article in the Wall Street Journal was titled, "Transgender Surgery Isn't the Solution." The doctor said, quote, policymakers and the media are doing no favors either to the public or the transgendered by treating their confusion as a right in need of defending rather than as a mental disorder that deserves understanding, treatment, and prevention, unquote. He said this confusion qualifies as a mental disorder in 2 ways. Quote, the first is the idea of sex misalignment is simply mistaken. It does not correspond with physical reality. The second is that it can lead to grim psychological outcomes. The transgendered suffer a disorder of assumption, like those in other disorders familiar to psychiatrists, he says. Dr. McHugh goes on to say the transgendered suffer a disordered assumption that the individual differs from what seems given in nature, namely maleness and femaleness. This, the doctor says, is similar to those assumptions associated with anorexia and bulimia nervosa, where people believe they're dangerously overweight. While transgendered people hold these, quote, beliefs about gender in their minds because of feelings often related to psychosocial conflicts or problems they believe will be resolved by changing genders. In their minds, the doctor says, this cannot be challenged. That's why, he says, states are passing laws barring psychiatrists, even with parental permission, quote, from striving to restore natural gender feelings to a transgendered minor. He says, quote, and so at Johns Hopkins, we stopped doing sex reassignment surgery since producing a quote unquote satisfied but still troubled patient seemed an inadequate reason for surgically amputating normal organs, unquote. Dr. McHugh expresses deep concern regarding the move, with encouragement from the media, pop culture, and the sex education in the public schools towards working with very young children who seem to want to imitate the opposite sex sometimes. He strongly warns against enabling or encouraging certain subgroups of the transgender, quote, such as young people susceptible to suggestion from everything is normal sex education to the school's diversity counselors, who, like cult leaders, may encourage these young people to distance themselves from the families and offer advice on rebutting arguments against having transgender surgery, unquote. The doctor warns against administering, quote, puberty-delaying hormones to render later sex change surgeries less onerous because these drugs stunt the child's growth and risk causing sterility. These actions come close to child abuse, he says. He also notes that 80% of those kids will, quote, abandon their confusion and grow naturally into adult life if untreated. They simply lose those feelings, he says. Quote, sex change is biologically impossible. People who undergo sex reassignment surgery do not change from men to women or vice versa. Rather, they become feminized men or masculinized women. Claiming this is a civil rights matter and encouraging surgical intervention is in reality to collaborate with and promote a mental disorder, unquote. Dr. McHugh is not standing alone on these matters. Vanderbilt University and London Portman Clinic of Children are expressing the same medical beliefs, unquote. My friends, facts are irrefutable. You can carve up your body, you can inject God knows what into your body. If you are born a man, that's what you will be until the day you die. Same thing if you're born a woman. Now, if that crashes on your PC sensibilities, well, that's a problem for you. But I read a couple of stories yesterday about parents having their kids undergo sex reassignment, and it is absolute insanity. It's obscenity. It's child abuse. It's everything wrong. You don't have to believe me. I'm just a lowly radio host. But Dr. McHugh is an expert. Search out his name. Go online. Find what he's written about this Wall Street Journal article from 2014. Get it and read it. Kids at the age of 4, 5, 6, 7 have no clue about sexuality, and their uncertainty thus is expected and natural and normal. Good Lord, don't ruin your children out of utter ignorance. It's Tuesday. It's Real Truth. Hang on, because we're going to be right back.
From low speed, man up. Grab your rod and your wife. Come float the upper North Platte Valley in Gotham. Sit in the hot springs after. Call Trout Tamers Outfitter at 970-460-8873 or book a trip at trouttamers.com. At the end of your trip, you can sit in the hot springs. You'll be happy. You'll be a legend. And the public service announcement. Do you remember the energy crisis of the 70s? A lot of people panicked. We came up with a solution. The best way to insulate your house, save you money, and increase your comfort. The best way to air seal and add insulation to your attic. The best way to insulate your wall cabinet. Whether your house is brick, aluminum, steel, vinyl, wood glass, or plasterboard. Even if your walls were previously insulated. The best way to perform energy assessment and the best way to help our customers qualify for utility. 43 years later, a lot has changed. A lot of our competition has come and gone. A few things that haven't. We're still family-owned and operated. We have developed new methods. We are still saving energy, more importantly, saving our customers money. Best Way Insulation, founded in 1976. 303-469-0808. That's 303-469-0808. Ryan again with Trout Tamers Landscaping. What a great season we've had so far. We've installed flower beds, paver and flagstone patios. We've planted hundreds of trees, shrubs, and flowers, and generally beautified many homes in the property. Thank you to all the KHC that's been called into consideration. If you are in Fort Collins, Loveland, Timmins, Wellington, or LaPorte, please call us at 970-460-8873 or visit us at TrautTamersLandscaping.com.
And as long as we are exploding myths, by the way, this is Howard Real. The show is called Real Truth, and I live to expose myths as false. As long as we're exploding myths, what's the myth you hear more often these days than anything else? Trump is a racist, which is absolute garbage. Here's Larry Elder, African American radio talk show host. You see him on Fox News all the time. He writes op-eds all over the place. He's here to tell you what I just told you, that Trump is in no way, shape, or form a racist, no matter what the Democrats want you to believe in order to get you to vote for them. Here's Larry Elder.
13 seconds.
Maxine Waters. By the way, Donna Brazile is now paid by Fox News. Why? The woman is clearly, you just heard the statement, clearly a racist. We know that she gave the questions for the debate to Hillary Clinton beforehand, so she's dishonest. Donna Brazile is a dog. She shouldn't be on TV anywhere, let alone Fox News. Now, as far as all these quotes that Larry Elder is presenting, connect the dots and it becomes real simple. The Democrats have nothing substantive to say because their policies don't work. Raising taxes and coddling criminals is no way to run a country, let alone the United States of America. They've got nothing real to give the American people, and so they scream racism. It makes me sick that one American believed it 40 years ago. So what am I supposed to think about Americans by the millions believing this garbage today?
The Republicans bring out Colin Powell and Jason Brown.
By the way, Jesse Jackson, who is an avowed anti-Semite, you remember the comment he made about New York being Hymietown. And by the way, the same Jesse Jackson who put his arm around Donald Trump, gave him an award, and told him he's done tremendous things for the black community, which, by the way, is correct. But Jesse Jackson has a long history as a race hustler.
You mean Uncle Tom type?
Once again, a Democrat. The Democrats will lie their butts off. They'll say anything they can think of. They'll throw mud. They'll slander. They'll insult. Because they figure Americans are stupid and they'll just believe it. Are Americans stupid? Are you?
George W. Bush is our moral corner. 2005.
One correction, when Howard Dean said we're the good, what he meant to say was we, the Democrats, we're the anuses. Folks, don't you get sick and tired of hearing racist from the Democrats? Do they have anything else to say? Well, the answer is no. A little spoiler. They have nothing real to say, so they scream racist.
George W. Bush's administration engaged in ethnic cleansing by inaction. So by simply not doing anything to alleviate this, they let the hurricane do the ethnic cleansing and their hands are clean. End of quote. 2006, Representative Barney Frank, Democrat from Massachusetts, referring to George W. Bush's allegedly sluggish response to the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. The Republican Party would have the American flag and the swastika flying side by side. 2006, Julian Bond, Chairman NAACP. The House of Representatives has been run like a plantation. And you know what I'm talking about. 2006, Hillary Clinton. The GOP is the white party. 2008, Howard Dean, again, DNC former chair. The animosity directed towards President Barack Obama is because of the belief among many white people, not just in the South, but all over, that African Americans are not qualified to lead this great country. End of quote. 2009, former President Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, another genius pronouncement from jackass Jimmy Carter, who vies with Barack Obama for the title of worst president in the last century. I want to learn about race relations from someone from Georgia.
Mitt Romney's going to put y'all back in the game. 2012, Vice President Joe Biden tweeted not only black audience about Mitt Romney's refusal to push for further regulation through Wall Street.
Now, my friends, what is more insulting than to stand in front of an audience, a particular ethnic audience, doesn't matter which ethnicity, and mimic their accent to try and make them think you're one of them? It's totally shameless. That's Joe Biden.
Some Republicans believe that slavery isn't over, and they think they won the Civil War. 2014, Representative Charlie Rangel. So Democrats are pushing for a restoration of civility.
All right, guys, we're out of time. I put this up on my Facebook page. Go watch it, share it. We'll be right back.
The American call 1-800-LEAVE-AMERICA. If not, call 970-460-8873. Some experience deep difficulties in suffering or chase 6 rounds in the fall. 8 hours on the drift boat, experience guides, lunch included. Visit troutgamers.com. hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources their jobs and pays little to no taxes, ask yourself, what do you really want in a realtor? You need a realtor who is honest and has integrity. A realtor who is focused on the client's bottom line, not the realtor's bottom line. Who provides personal, over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham and Associates LLC. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Land deals, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings, I've got you covered. For the first-time home buyer, we will make it the best experience. If you are looking to move up or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit coloradoproperties.online. Let me do a great job for you. Brian again, Entertainment Landscaping. What a great season we've had so far. We've installed flower beds, favorite flagpole patios, we've had deep shrubs and flowers, and different food products. Thank you to all the Cajun listeners getting across the consideration. If you are at Fort Collins, Loveland, Denton, Boston, or Fort, please call us at 970-460-8873 or visit us at fairtamerslandscaping.com. Square construction is looking to help support the American Freedom Network. Quality custom testers. In 1990, Weber Construction was given high quality types of building projects all along the Southern Network. Their licensed insured and experience development skills to help you create outdoor living or future dreams. For your free consultation and obligation quote, give Doug a call at 303-517-8742 or visit us on the web at SquareConstruction.com.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Howard Real Truth. The Turning Point USA Teen Student Action Summit took place last week. One of the folks they interviewed was David Harris Jr., founder and CEO of Uncorked Wellness, author of Why I Couldn't Stay Silent, by the way, an African American. Here he is talking about Donald Trump. What do you think he's going to say? Let's listen.
David Harris, wonderful to have you on American Politics. Thank you so much for having me. I think we have to talk about racism. Right now, there's a lot of people that are looking at this world that are traumatized with racism. It's interesting. I never thought about Donald Trump as being a racist. I never
And let's talk about this a little bit. Because I would agree, I've never seen a president attacked as viciously as Donald Trump has been. Although Abraham Lincoln, I've read, was attacked just as viciously. In fact, back then there were people in the media saying he should be killed. Thank God it hasn't gone that far. Why is Trump so especially hated? The answer is obvious. Because Trump has been especially successful. If he was just another mealy-mouthed politician, yeah, let him blather and he'll be gone. But Donald Trump is making fundamental improvements to the United States of America, wiping away the Democrat agenda, and the Democrats are screeching with hatred. Just the way a rat does when you have it cornered. Because Donald Trump is so successful, that's why he is so reviled.
Concern. I've never seen a president attacked like this until now.
Now, if you confront a Democrat with these facts, they'll say, quote, racist. That's what you get for trying to talk to a Democrat. So many people, excellent point. So many people listening to the mainstream media and believing their lies. Folks, as Americans, we've got work to do. We've got responsibility. You can't simply sit there like a baby chick in a nest with your mouth open and wait for someone to drop something in so you can swallow it. You got to do your homework. You got to do your research. I know you're busy and you've got other things to do. Well, that's too bad. If you're going to vote, you have a responsibility to yourself, your family, your community, and your country to know what the hell you're voting for and why. You need to get educated. Now, this guy wrote a book, David Harris Jr. I recommend that you read it. I recommend that you get informed. I've said this before, I'll say it once again. Go to Google and type in Trump accomplishments. You will be dumbfounded, if you've never done it before, how many hundreds of things the Trump administration has done for all sectors of our population in just a little over 2.5 years. He's clearly been the most effective president we've had, certainly in my lifetime, and I'm an old geezer. Be informed. Don't swallow what the mainstream media says, because what they say almost always is a lie. They've got an agenda. They're trying to manipulate you. Don't swallow it. Don't be a victim. Don't be a gull. Get the information, get the facts on your own, and be an informed voter. And if you are, I'm confident you will almost always vote Republican. We'll be right back. right, guys. Now everybody knows. I mean, everybody knows that if you say that Baltimore is a toilet, you've got to be a racist, right? Well, except for the fact that Baltimore is a toilet. It's got nothing to do with race. It's got to do with politics. The Democrats have run Baltimore for decades, and they've made it a toilet. Here are a couple of guys on the Glenn Beck show. I don't know their names. That's not important. What they say is important. Let's listen.
The most racist thing racism ever raised. Yeah, it is an opportunity. I find it incredible that they just drop any form of journalistic and take right calling it. It's not racist, it's racist. And there's not a racist thing in his tweet. Show me what is blatantly racist. When it is racist. There's nothing. No, it's just this is the way it's wrong. So they're not even alleged. The schools, homes, none of those words. There's nothing. I think that's the most fascinating part to me. In that, forget parents of power. It's not, rights or not doing it. It's not only journalists doing it. They're actually like saying you're not a good journalist if you say racial slurs. For real. They're calling out journalists to get that thing. If you can't, you're a leader. You're not going to be the opportunity. Don't call them racist. Don't call them racist. You're not a representative. No. Yes, that's fair. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not like he isn't tweeting about white people. He's an equal opportunity offender. How many times has he called out others for, Muslims, for Chinese, or even racism? And he has been racist. In your terms, they have massive demographic people. Massive numbers. You went through it, and I did not count all 598 because I looked at it. I mean, it's overwhelming majority of it. Okay. Again, opposition, right? Almost. A lot of them are Democrats. Did you see the picture of where we stood in First of all, well, he's the outline. Look at this guy. And I got a show on CNN. And he posted this little quote. Here's what he said. The president spoke about Congressman Cummings' testimony.
Excuse me, schmuck. If the place is a toilet, abandoned buildings, homeless, rats all over the place, garbage strewn all over the place, where is this feeling of pride coming from? If you're going to say you're proud to be among a certain group of people, you can have a certain group of people anywhere. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the garbage dump that is Baltimore, Maryland. And you know, my friends, let me tell you something. When any of these high-priced talking heads on TV begin to get choked up, it touches them so much. They're so emotional. They are acting. They're acting. This guy's a phony.
Righteous.
Yeah, by the way, schmuck, people do all those things in every city. But Baltimore is still a toilet. Well, they are Americans. You can say the same thing for people in every city in America. So this guy just wasted our time play acting that he's emotionally torn up because Donald Trump spoke the truth about a toilet named Baltimore.
The guy left that utopia the very second it was his choice. The very second. As soon as he's out of high school, he gets the hell out of Baltimore. It doesn't look bad.
Yeah, if he loves Baltimore so much, why isn't his sorry ass in Baltimore? It's not. Correct. He got out as quick as he could because the place, I think I may have mentioned this, is a toilet.
The gymnastics they will go through. Unbelievable, man. Criticized Trump. But, you know, to the point of they're like not saying basically Baltimore is Disneyland. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's actually better than Disneyland because they have a lot less. Disneyland is actually one big one. They've got millions. I lived and visited in 89 and 92. When we first got to town, the station house then was a fairly and was and we looked at the prices during this time. It was really pretty nice and paid. And on every post is a sign that says warning, rat infestation. Which you already knew. You see all the squished rats on the pavement that car after car after car drove over, right? How can you have these rats infested? There are 1,000 times. At the time, they estimated rats outnumbered people in the inner Baltimore area. Approximately 20 million rats to 2 million people. So if it's only a 10-to-1 ratio.
And so, obviously, if you point that fact out, you're a racist. Clearly. The rats outnumber the people 10-to-1 in Baltimore, and that's a racially charged sentiment. My friends, instead of the Democratic Party, I wish they would be honest and rename themselves the Stupidity Party. Because if you believe any of the garbage they put out, you have got to be stupid. It's that simple. We'll be back.
Square construction is pleased to help support the American freedom movement by offering a high-quality custom construction service. In 1990, Square Construction delivered high-quality decks, other types of house building structures all along the northern border. With a licensed insured and experienced skills to help create house building homes in your dreams. For your free consultation and evaluation point, get another call at 303-517-8742 or visit us on the web at squareconstruction.com. Something simple, but powerful. No one in America does what we do. Our health and nutrition profile is a free 1-hour interview with our counselor. We look at what we eat, what we drink, education, protein, food, training, about history, your family, everything that makes you a unique person. No one is exactly like you. Then we will suggest some food change. Maybe you should add something to your diet. Maybe you should put some taste with it. Then we suggest greener products to supplement your diet. We usually suggest between 2 and 5 days. 60 capsules cost $17.50, but remember, we're not obligated. Call us at 888-765-HERB. That's 888-765-4372 to schedule your no obligation appointment. Join us and don't miss the fun of the Out Generation Store, #1 source in Tennessee. Find out what extreme media is about. InfoWars, Pro America, Pro Family, Pro Freedom. We are the 3776. Exclusive reports, live coverage, information you won't find anywhere else. From our news today. Stay informed by listening to KHN 1360. The Out Generation, KHN, the heart of Golden, Colorado.
All right, guys, welcome back. from Breitbart, Joe Biden waded into the feud between Al Sharpton and President Donald Trump on Monday to defend the Reverend from what he saw as racist attacks. Biden said, quote, Al Sharpton is a champion in the fight for civil rights. The fact that, well, stop right there. Joe Biden's long-standing reputation as the premier rectum in Congress is in no danger of being wiped away, so to speak. So, in Joe Biden's estimation, Al Sharpton is a champion in the fight for civil rights. Okay. From Wikipedia, in 1995, a black Pentecostal church, the United House of Prayer, which owned a retail property on 125th Street in Harlem, asked Fred Harari, a Jewish tenant who operated Freddy's Fashion Mart, to evict his longtime subtenant, a black-owned record store called the Record Shack. Sharpton led a protest in Harlem against the planned eviction of the Record Shack. Sharpton told the protesters, quote, we will not stand by and allow them to move this brother so some white interloper can expand his business, unquote. Sharpton said to an audience at Kane College in 1994, quote, we meaning blacks, we taught philosophy and astrology and mathematics before Socrates and them Greek homos ever got around to it. During 2007, Sharpton was accused of bigotry for comments he made on May 7th concerning presidential candidate Mitt Romney and his religion, Mormonism. Quote, as for the one Mormon running for office, those who really believe in God will defeat him anyway, so don't worry about that. That's a temporary situation, unquote. In 1993, Sharpton pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor for failing to file a state income tax return. Later, the authorities discovered one of Mr. Sharpton's for-profit companies called Raw Talent, which he used as a repository for money from speaking engagements, was also not paying taxes, a failure that continued for years. On May 9, 2008, the Associated Press reported Sharpton and his businesses owed almost $1.5 million in unpaid taxes and penalties. Sharpton owed $931,000 in federal income tax and $366,000 to New York, and his former company, for-profit company, Reverend Al Communications, owed another $176,000 to the state. According to the New York Times, Sharpton and his for-profit businesses owed $4.5 million in state and federal taxes as of November 2014, unquote. Al Sharpton is a piece of garbage, and Joe Biden is an anus. Item from the Associated Press, Dateline, Brookfield, Wisconsin. Carol Evans approves of Donald Trump's immigration policy. She gives him credit for the strong economy. But the Republican from the affluent Milwaukee suburbs of Waukesha County, a GOP bedrock in the state, can't commit to voting for the president next year like she did in 2016. Quote, I just don't like the way he talks about other people, said Evans, a 79-year-old retired data entry supervisor, unquote. So the economy is great. His accomplishments outside the country are great. Jobs are great. This is great. That's great. But this woman says, I just don't like the way he talks about other people. My friends, in 2016, American women absolutely disgraced themselves by voting like empty-headed little girls like this woman is talking. You vote based on results. You vote based on policies and issues. You don't vote because I don't like the way he talks about other people. That's the way a 5-year-old girl would vote. And for American women who seem to always be striving to earn respect, that is not the way to do it. I'll be back tomorrow. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay angry. And women, stay adults, will ya?